Flashing back several hours, we find Goku and Vegeta on the hunt for the androids. So far they've had no success, having returned to the site of Giro's lab and scouted the surrounding area. When this turns up nothing, Vegeta makes a suggestion that perhaps the best way to find these infernal androids is not to search for them, but to let them come to them. After all, if the future boy and the bandana brat are to be believed, their purpose is to kill Kakarot, so more likely than not, they'll be heading for where they think they can find him. For that reason he suggests they split up, with Kakarot waiting in his home while he stakes out the Turtle Pervert's island. Sooner or later the androids will show up at one of those places, and when they do, the one who's waiting there can flare their aura as a signal for the other to come join them. Grinning, Goku calls this a great plan, setting off at once for Mount Paozu, while Vegeta also takes flight, though not towards Kame House. Smirking, the prince reflects on how it is almost too easy to trick an honorable dolt like Kakarot. Now he'll stay out of the way on that mountain of his, while he, Vegeta, tracks down the androids and takes care of them himself, proving once and for all that he doesn't need Kakarot or any of those other earthling worms. Landing at his true destination, Vegeta strolls into the main building of Capsule Corp, heading for his room and turning on the news. As expected, there is a report of a town under attack, and this is all Vegeta needs to hear, figuring this will be the androids, and so flies off in the direction of this so-called Ginger Town. Touching down, Vegeta is not met with the sounds of death and destruction that he'd been expecting, but rather silence. An eerie, uncomfortable silence, made only worse by the odd piles of clothes lying strewn throughout the street. Neither Kakarot nor the future duo had said a word about anything like this when describing the androids, but surely this must be them, since who else could be attacking civilians at a time like this? His question is answered a moment later, when the squeaking of hydraulics draws the Saiyan Prince's attention to the immense insectoid creature stalking towards him. Odd, he can sense this thing's energy, when the androids were said to be undetectable. But no matter, because he can sense it, he can also sense that its power is not insignificant, meaning he should be able to get an amusing fight out of it before he puts it in the ground. Spinning on his heels, Vegeta pounces on the monster, driving a fist into its face with enough force to make it gasp in pain. However, this is not the end of Vegeta's onslaught, as when it stumbles backwards, the prideful warrior grabs hold of its long spotted tail, lifting the creature off its feet and spinning it round in the air before tossing it into a building. Feeling dissatisfied with his opponent, Vegeta then raises a big bang attack in his palm to finish it. But before he opens fire, he asks the android which unit it is, so he can tell the future brat how easily he killed one of the big bad boogeymen that was supposedly so much trouble in his timeline. Seeing a chance to save its own skin, the bug protests that it is neither 17 nor 18, but Cell, an entirely separate bio-android, built to absorb those two models in order to attain his perfect form. This does little to impress Vegeta, and knowing that a solar flare at this range will just make Vegeta launch the blast and kill him, Cell turns to bargaining, promising that if he could just get his hands on the other two androids, he'd give Vegeta a better fight than he could possibly imagine. Scoffing, Vegeta retorts that he highly doubts it, but with fervor in his pink eyes, Cell assures him that it's true, and that in his perfect form, he is the strongest warrior to ever exist. Vegeta still has his doubts about this considering how pitifully Cell fought before, but as he sees it, he has nothing to lose, since either this creature is telling the truth, and he will get the true test of his newly improved Super Saiyan power that he craves, or he is lying, and he can just kill him then. Being a savvy cicada, Cell sees all these thoughts cross Vegeta's face, and when the prince reaches his final conclusion, the bioandroid's beaked mouth splits into a grin. Good. Dr. Giro's data on Vegeta's easily manipulatable ego had not been mistaken. Dissipating his Big Bang attack and gesturing for Cell to get up, Vegeta demands to know if the Green Goliath has any idea where the androids might be. And still in that unctuous tone, Cell replies that he believes they'll be heading to Goku's home right now, since if he were them, that's where he'd look for the Saiyan. Cursing that his lies become true, Vegeta yells at Cell to follow him as he shoots off into the air, desperate to reach Mount Paozu before the androids, since he will not let that selfish oaf Kakarot steal his chance at a good fight. At their top speeds, it does not take Vegeta and Cell long to reach the Son family homestead, though it seems they are not the only visitors, as when Goku emerges from the house to greet Vegeta and this green stranger, a large pink van comes rolling up the mountain trail. Through the windshield, Goku recognizes 17 and 18, and so without hesitation, hurls a key bolt at them, calling for Vegeta and the Bugman to help him. Leering, Cell responds that it would be his pleasure, as he leaps into the burning wreckage of the vehicle, though it seems he will not be so lucky as to get a free lunch, since when he draws near, he is peppered with blasts from an uninjured but highly annoyed 17 and 18. Not wanting to interfere with Cell's fight, Goku and Vegeta stand back, watching the androids brawl, and as they do, Goku curiously asks Vegeta who this green guy is anyway. Smirking, Vegeta explains that he is a bio-android he encountered after hearing reports of devastation in Ginger Town, and that he brought him along since he promised he would give him a good fight after absorbing the other androids. Scowling, Goku curses his fellow Saiyan for his short-sightedness, saying that if he's another android that's compatible with 17 and 18, then he's probably a bad guy made by Gero as well, and now Vegeta's gone and brought him where his wife and infant son are. With a huff, Vegeta protests that he couldn't care less about some woman and brat, any more than he cared about whatever Cell did in Ginger Town. All that matters is his chance to crush Cell at his full power, thus reasserting that he is the strongest warrior in the universe, not Kakarot, and certainly not that coward from the future. Frown deepening, Goku wants to continue chiding his rival, but it seems he has more pressing concerns, as another figure rises from the wreckage of the pink van, that being 16, whose primary programming compels him to seek a rematch with Goku. Powering up into Super Saiyan, Goku is more than capable of keeping up with the redhead robot now, but this is not the issue, as while he is tied up here, Cell is able to overpower both 17 and 18, knocking them out and making them easy targets for absorption. When both androids have been consumed, a vast bubble of greenish aura consumes the insect, with his power spiking so exponentially that both Goku and 16 stop mid-fight to look on in horror. The only one smiling is Vegeta, as he will at last get his fight, though this smile is short-lived, as when the newly formed Perfect Cell finally appears, his first act is to drive a fist into Vegeta's stomach. Doubling over and gasping for air, Vegeta is entirely at Cell's mercy, as the bio-android grabs him by the back of the head and slams him into the dirt, before cackling that the prince is truly an arrogant fool. All it took was the promise of a fight, and a little needling at the man's pride, and he served up both the androids and Goku on a silver platter. Angrily, Vegeta tries to retort, but Cell merely stomps him deeper into the dirt, telling him to hush now, since he'll get around to killing him later, but first he must complete his primary mission and eliminate Goku. Gritting his teeth, Goku takes his fighting stance once more, well aware that this is a fight he may not be able to win, especially with enemies on both sides, though to his surprise, when 16 leaps into action, it is to lunge at Cell, calling him a travesty and vowing to avenge his siblings. Smirking, Cell calls this adorable, then with a lazy death beam cleaves the purely mechanical android in half from head to toe, critically damaging his central processor and ending his life. Though Goku held no love for the android, to see someone struck down so callously angers the Saiyan, causing his ki to expand rapidly as he rushes in, knowing that whatever comes, he'll face it fighting. This evidently delights Cell, with the bio-android allowing Goku the first hit, a sharp jab to his perfect jawline, before retaliating with a hook to the ribs. Neither blow does serious damage, though this is to be expected, as the two warriors are sizing each other up, with the same being true of the next set of blows, as Goku lashes out with a kick, which Cell deflects, before driving an elbow into Goku's mouth. Splitting apart, Goku and Cell eye each other carefully, having at last gauged where the other's skill level is. Goku for his part is pretty sure that even with that extra year of training alongside Vegeta, Cell is still stronger than him, but this doesn't matter, since until Gohan, Pan and Trunks can get out of the time chamber and back him up, he's gonna have to hold this monster at bay on his own. Cell meanwhile has adopted a broad smile, as if his very reason for existing stands before him, and he is about to have all the fun in the world with it. Flaring their auras, the duo then clash once more, exchanging a flurry of punches and kicks that send them zipping all over the skyline at a speed beyond human comprehension. Small sonic booms follow in their wake from each impact, until finally Cell and Goku reappear, with Cell plummeting into the ground thanks to Goku having scored a lucky kick to his jaw. Refusing to pass up an opportunity to end this monster, Goku readies a Kamehameha, while from the ground, Cell sneers that Goku's not gonna fire that, since from this angle, even if he killed him, the Earth would be destroyed as well. Not that it matters, since he's probably gonna blow up this worthless rock after Goku's dead anyway, so if Goku wants to run the risk, fine by him. By now the blue orb of ki has taken shape, and with a look of fixed determination, Goku begins to say the all too familiar words, Kamehameha, but then does something Cell could not have anticipated, vanishing with instant transmission and appearing directly behind the bio-bug. Ha! In an instant, blue light bathes the battlefield, as Goku puts everything he has into obliterating Cell, and when it finally fades, all that remains of the mechanical menace are a pair of legs. Letting out a sigh, Goku relaxes, hoping that at last the world will know peace, though this relief is quickly swallowed by horror, as with a scream, Cell fully regenerates, similarly to how Piccolo does. Gasping, Goku asks how this is possible, but with a smirk, Cell responds that he is made up of the DNA of all of Earth's mightiest warriors, meaning that not only does he have Piccolo's regenerative abilities, but he also has the handy quirk of Saiyan biology, which allows his power to grow exponentially each time he is brought to the brink of death. To prove this point, he swings a backhand. In his depleted state, Goku can barely register it, let alone counter it, as he is knocked off his feet and sent crashing into Vegeta's prone form, while from his standing position, Cell watches with contempt, ready to end the Saiyans and their pathetic planet. This is what Gohan, Pan, and Trunks feel as they step from the time chamber, a cold dread filling each of them. Wasting no time, the trio of heroes rush over to Kami, who seems to be the only other person left on the lookout, with the Guardian explaining that Goku and Vegeta have engaged in battle with a powerful new enemy, while the other Z fighters have gone to gather the Dragon Balls, since they may be their only hope of salvation if the courageous Saiyans fall in battle. Gritting his teeth, Trunks declares that he will not allow androids to destroy this world's heroes, powering up into Super Saiyan Grade 2, while Pan and Gohan do likewise, ready to fly off. Knowing that he will not dissuade the youths from fighting, Kami does the only thing he can, using a clothes beam to replace their damaged armor with clothes that will not shred under their increased muscle mass, as he wishes them luck for the battle ahead. With the boost in speed granted by Grade 2, the hybrid Saiyans are able to reach Mount Paozu in a short span of time, though their incoming key signatures precede them, drawing Cell's interest enough to hold off on killing Goku and Vegeta to await what he can only hope are his next set of challenges. In this, he is not disappointed, as when the hybrid trio spot him, and more importantly the way he is standing over the beaten bodies of their family members, they immediately power up into Grade 3 and go on the attack. With the coordination they have achieved from their 6 months in the chamber, Gohan, Pan, and Trunks make for a considerable fighting force. Their synergy practically flawless as they attempt to create openings for their comrades to exploit, or else engage in combo moves like a triple Masenko. Unfortunately, even the best teamwork in the world cannot do much when it has a defective basis, such as Super Saiyan Grade 3's excessive bulk, which renders the hybrid Saiyans far too slow to actually land more than glancing blows on Cell. Nonetheless, he indulges them, letting the youngsters think that they have backed him into a corner, so that their hopes may be at an all-time high before he dashes them by truly powering up. When he has done that, even Grade 3's enhanced strength is not enough, and all it takes is 3 swift hits to put them in their place. As he had hoped, this prompt defeat damages the group's morale just as badly as their bodies, and as the kids lie slumped in their base forms, it falls to Goku to re-enter the fray, yelling at the others to get out of here. Sadly, he is still in a far too injured state to pose any challenge, with the Bugman throwing him through the side of his house, before declaring that it seems there is too much Saiyan refuse lying around, so he ought to clear some of it away. But who? Pretending to think for a moment, the sadistic cyborg starts pointing at his victims, as if playing a game of eeny meeny miny mo, though this is all for show, as he quickly realizes whose deaths will most enrage the other Saiyans, and possibly induce them to give him another round of fun. The children. Splaying the fingers on his left hand, Cell begins to charge 5 separate death beams, aiming them at Gohan and Pan as he readies to finish them off. Desperately, Goku cries for Cell to stop, but this is about all he can do after the beating he has just endured, meaning that it falls to Trunks as the nearest fighter to the kids to act. Without needing to think, the lavender-haired young man knows what he must do. This is the promise he made to his mentor all those years ago, and a way to make up for his failure on that terrible day. And so as the barrage of beams hurtle towards Gohan and Pan, he leaps in front of them, taking each hit and meeting his end the way his master did. With an unceremonious thump, the lifeless corpse of Trunks crashes into the children, his lolling head coming to rest in Pan's lap, while blood pools out of several smoking holes. Staring into the glassy eyes of her surrogate big brother, Pan feels tears run down her cheeks. This isn't fair. How could Trunks, who had always been so strong, just die? He was her hero, her best friend. She still needs him. He can't be gone. He just can't. However, no amount of denial can spare Pan from the painful truth, and as it sets in, she at last understands what Trunks meant about anger, as all her grief suddenly ignites into rage, a fury so intense and white-hot that it threatens to swallow her entirely. This is a million times worse than what she felt in the time chamber while going Super Saiyan, and as she locks eyes with Cell, her every instinct tells her to kill. Rising to her feet, Pan prepares to fight again, all her injury and fatigue forgotten, while beside her, Gohan does likewise, the pain of a good friend dying because he was too weak spurring him onwards. From his place on the battlefield, Cell eyes the kids with interest. He had hoped this little display would rile up some of the Saiyans, but he had not expected it would be these two, nor had he figured that they would transform again. This new form excites Cell just as much as the identity of his challengers, as it is one he has not seen before, leaner than that ridiculous muscle form, but with the same more pronounced golden hair, and a new feature in the form of bioelectricity that shoots periodically from their auras. Fascinating. However, Cell's marveling is soon cut short when at speeds that even he cannot comprehend, Gohan appears before him, driving a fist into his gut, while a millisecond later, Pan appears above her future father, uppercutting the already injured bioandroid and sending him skidding backwards. From the ground, Goku cheers on the kids, telling them to finish Cell now, but with a growl that displays her hereditary rage, Pan declares that not until they've made him pay for what he did to Trunks. She then throws herself once more at Cell, battering him with a volley of blows while Gohan does likewise, the pair acting as a single entity, designed solely to inflict pain. In a matter of seconds, Cell is on his hands and knees, panting for air and shaking violently. This is not how this was supposed to go. He is the perfect life form, and he will not be bested by a pair of prepubescent punks. It seems that Gohan and Pan have other ideas, however, as feeling that Cell's will is finally broken, they each start charging a ki blast to blow him away. Knowing that he probably won't be able to endure such an assault in his weakened state, Cell makes a choice, a dire one, but a necessary one, as his perfect body suddenly expands to become a vast rotund sphere. Furiously, Gohan asks what kind of trick this is, but with a cackle, Cell declares this is no trick, it's the grand finale, as he has just triggered his self-destruct, meaning in 1 minute, the Earth and everyone on it will be destroyed. What a perfect ending to their fight. Putting more energy into charging her blast, Pan declares that they'll just have to beat him in under a minute then, but with sinister mirth, Cell informs her that it's too late for that. Even the slightest touch might trigger the explosion now, which means, like it or not, the game's already over. Fury only growing, Pan screams there has to be a way to stop this, with Goku's voice piping up behind her as he says there is one way, he's just sorry it's come to this. Turning around, the two hybrids are met by Goku back on his feet, and as he approaches them, he pulls both Pan and Gohan into a hug, stating that they put up a good fight, and he's very proud of them. Worriedly, the kids ask what Goku's going to do, but with a smile, he simply tells them goodbye, before detaching from them and laying a hand on Cell. At once, everyone knows what's about to happen, though before anyone can act, Goku and Cell vanish, with the mighty hero having used instant transmission to transport Cell somewhere he cannot harm the Earth, at the cost of his own life. Dropping to their knees, Gohan and Pan wail for their father and grandfather respectively to come back, but it is too late. The battle is over. Or so they think. As a few moments later, the sound of a death beam rings out behind them, and as the young hybrids turn, they see Cell, healthy as ever, standing over the corpse of Vegeta, as he sneers that he told him he'd be back to finish him off after Goku was dead. This sight leaves both Gohan and Pan aghast, but with a chuckle, Cell taunts that they shouldn't be so surprised, since he is capable of regenerating from any injury so long as his core remains intact. And better still, that near-death experience gave him a hefty power-up, as well as teaching him Goku's instant transmission. So in truth, he really should be thanking the kids, since not only did they make him stronger, but they ostensibly killed Goku for him. This barb pushes Gohan over the edge, causing him to fly right at Cell, and this is just what the Biobug had wanted, as it allows him to demonstrate his power in a practical setting by breaking the boy's arm with a chop. Plainly, the overwhelming power gap between them has faded, but this does not stop Pan from following her dad's example and rushing in, being so incensed by Cell's return that she truthfully does not care if she lives or dies, so long as Cell is destroyed. Seeing this, Cell allows her to throw her punches, catching each of them then returning the favor with a headbutt that sends her staggering. Smirking, Cell declares that it seems like no one will be able to challenge him after all, so he might as well blow up the Earth now, but from a small distance away, Gohan calls out not so fast, stating that he still has one last trick up his sleeve, as he charges a Kamehameha in his uninjured hand. Smirking at the quaintness of this heroic last stand, Cell decides to play along, charging a Kamehameha in his own hands, and launching it just as Gohan does to create a beam struggle, which will no doubt end in the boy's death. In this, it seems that Cell is correct, as with all his injuries and only one hand to channel ki through, Gohan's beam quickly begins to lose ground, with his imminent defeat appearing inevitable. That is until Gohan feels something brush his hand. Looking round, he sees Pan, just as bloodied and bruised as him, but with unmistakable determination, as she provides the second hand needed to create the cupping motion for a proper Kamehameha. At once, the beam's power increases, and as Pan begins to pour the last remnants of her ki into it, Cell's advantage lessens, until soon they are back on even footing. Furiously, the bioandroid shrieks that he will not be defeated by mere children, but in unison, Gohan and Pan declare they're more than just kids, they're family, Then as one, they release all their power into their father-daughter Kamehameha. Against such power, Cell is vaporized, with not a single molecule remaining from which he can rebuild himself. Briefly, the kids stay in their Super Saiyan 2 form, wary of another surprise return, but as the minutes pass with no sign of Cell, they finally relent, and when Chi-Chi with baby Goten in her arms rushes out to meet them, they run to her, allowing themselves to be pulled into her embrace as they unabashedly weep. For a time, they are simply allowed to mourn, though eventually the world intrudes as it always does, with Piccolo landing beside the family and telling them to follow him up to the lookout, since they've gathered the Dragon Balls, so it's time to put this nightmare to an end. Nodding, Gohan with Chi-Chi in his arms and Pan with Trunks' body fly upwards after Piccolo, soon finding themselves in the lookout's courtyard, where Kami, Piccolo, Tien, Yamcha and Krillin stand waiting for them, while Shenron's fearsome face hangs overhead. As these are still Kami's original Dragon Balls, they are only able to make one wish, though there is no question of what it should be: the revival of everyone killed by Dr. Gero and his creations. However, here Pan does add one caveat, that 17 and 18 be excluded, an addendum no one objects to, even if Krillin does look a little disappointed. And so it is that when the dragon's eyes flash, Pan feels Trunks stirring, with her pulling her big bro into a tight hug, before yelling that if he ever does something stupid like that again, she'll be the one who kills him. Everyone laughs at this wholesome display, though there is an air of anticipation, as if still waiting for something, or rather, someone. And this is only broken when Krillin asks if anyone sensed Goku yet. Sighing, the other Z-Fighters all shake their heads, while Kami interjects that unfortunately, Goku will not be able to return, as he has already been revived once by the Dragon Balls. This sets a dampener on the mood, until with a smile, Gohan suggests that this isn't really a problem, since they can just go to Namek and ask Porunga to revive his dad. Smiling as well, Yamcha calls this a great idea, though before they can begin planning the logistics of a second expedition to Namek, a new voice joins the conversation, that of Goku. In a slightly sheepish voice, he apologizes to his friends, saying he appreciates their concern, but he's not coming back. Confused, Gohan and Pan ask why not, and with a chuckle, Goku explains how Bulma once called him a magnet for trouble, something he's come to agree with, considering how Cell and the other androids were all designed to kill him. For the sake of the world, he thinks it's best if he stays dead, and while he knows it's a raw deal for his family and friends, he also knows they'll be okay without him. The power he saw the kids display against Cell far outstrips anything he can do, so for now at least, this is goodbye. And just like that, Earth's greatest defender departs for the next leg of his adventure. While down on the lookout, those he left behind wish him well, proud that they had the privilege of knowing Son Goku. The next morning, the Z-Fighters assemble at Capsule Corp to see off Trunks and Pan, as now that their mission is complete, it is time to return to their future world and liberate it from the tyranny of the androids. The only one who is absent is Vegeta, with no one having seen him since his presumed revival yesterday, though Trunks certainly doesn't mind, having no love for the arrogant man. Instead, his focus is on Pan, who has been acting odd since Goku's pronouncement that he would stay dead. Seeking out his surrogate little sister, Trunks finds the girl standing a ways away from the other members of the Son family, though like them she is dressed in black mourning clothes, and every few seconds he sees her eyes dart over to them. Worriedly, the lavender-haired young man asks what's wrong, causing Pan to fidget as she looks anywhere but at him, and when she says she's fine, it is in a voice that Trunks does not believe for a second. Taking a knee so they can be eye to eye, Trunks sighs that Pan isn't coming back with him, is she? Gulping in air, Pan tries to speak, to explain herself, and tell Trunks that it's not that she doesn't want to go back and help him beat the androids, it's just that she feels responsible for Grandpa Goku's death, and like she owes it to her family and this timeline to stay and be a protector in her grandfather's place. And more than that, when she sees the pain in Gohan's eyes, she knows that he needs her more than Trunks does. However, in this state of heightened emotion, she cannot articulate any of this, and so simply gives a small shake of her head. Adopting a sad smile, Trunks says that he understands, promising to give Bulma her love. Smiling a little now, Pan at last is able to get out some words, as she in turn promises to train baby Trunks to be as great a warrior as his future self. Laughing, Trunks admits it's a funny image, her training him in this timeline, but all the same, there's no one he'd trust more with the task. The pair then share a hug, expressing how much they'll miss each other, before Trunks clambers back into his time machine alone, and Pan at last goes to stand with Chi-Chi, Gohan, and Goten. Together the four members of the Son clan wave Trunks off. Then when his time machine vanishes into the event horizon, they depart for home, looking forward to some long overdue peace. And that's where we'll leave things for now. now, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts, suggestions, or screams of rage in the comments below.